Let's solve problem number 2. Solve for the domain of the functions f and g, where f of x is equal to the square root of x plus 2, and g of x is equal to 3 square root of 3 minus x. So let's solve for the domain of the function f first. So we have here the function f uh, is a radical expression or a radical function. Here, since the index is even, so there is a chance, or there is a possibility that the value of the function is negative, or the square root of negative, which is imaginary. So we restrict that value or function value. Hence, we are going to restrict the value of the radicand, which is x plus 2, and we want to make sure that the result of x plus 2 is greater than or equal to 0, such that the function value would be a rational number or an irrational number. Okay, so a rational number. So here we're going to consider the radicand, so that's x plus 2, and this must be greater than or equal to 0. It's equal to 0. If it's equal to 0, then the square root of 0 is 0. And if it's greater than 0, that's a positive number. So therefore, the square root of a positive number exists. Okay. However, if the result of x plus 2 is negative, then the function value becomes imaginary, and we don't want that to happen. And we don't want those imaginary numbers for the function value. Okay, so here, let's solve for x. So we have x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So in this case, we already restricted the value of x such that the function would be defined. So the domain of our function f is equal to x is an element of real numbers such that x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay, we're done with f. Now let's solve g of x here. So in g of x, it is equal to the square root of 3 minus x. And this function is a radical function as well, where the radicand is 3 minus x. And then again, there is chance, or there exists a value of x such that the radicand becomes negative and the function value becomes imaginary. So we don't want that to happen. That's why we're going to restrict the value of the radicand to be greater than or equal to 0. So to solve for x, we have x is less than or equal to 3. So if x is less than or equal to 3, then the possible values of g of x are 0, okay, if x is equal to 3, and positive numbers when x is less than or equal to 3. So therefore, we already restricted the values of x, okay, for the value of the radicand. So our domain would be for g of x. So that's the domain of g is equal to x is an element of rational number such that x is less than or equal to 3. So that's how we get the domain of a given function, especially when we are talking about radical expression or radical function. Okay, and let's proceed to problem number 3.